Prologue. Dyneta was not always a fractured world, Father began. His voice was a soothing baritone that filled the small firelit bedroom. He rocked gently in a worn chair by the hearth, while his gentle shadow flickered across the walls. Long ago, its vast, pristine lands stretched unbroken from the crashing rocky shores to the tallest snow-capped mountain peaks. It was a world where magic and machinery converged in perfect harmony. It was an era of unparalleled splendor known as the Age of Myr. Nia, curled up under a patchwork quilt, let out an exaggerated sigh. Papa, I already know this bedtime story, Nia huffed, though her big brown eyes gleamed with curiosity. The glowing cities, the people, the other stuff. She waved her hands in the air, mimicking the motion of airships. Aye, dear, Father replied with a chuckle, while leaning forward to stoke the fire. But it's not just any bedtime story. It's true. Kai cooed softly from his crib in the corner, the sound barely audible over the crackle of the fire. Father's gaze settled over him. You're still too little to understand, Kai, but someday you'll know why remembering this story matters so much. Nia propped herself up on one elbow and furrowed her eyebrows. Then tell it the right way to me, Papa, she said. Her curiosity was winning out over her pretense of impatience. I'm not a baby anymore, so don't leave anything out this time. You always stop at the good parts. She sat upright in her bed. Father's smile deepened, and he leaned back in his chair. The wood creaked beneath him. In his hands, he held a picture book titled The Age of Myr. Its leather cover was worn soft with age, and its pages looked delicate. Though fragile, the illustrations remained vivid, painted in rich hues that had somehow endured time's grasp. Ah, is that so? My big girl thinks she's ready to hear it all. I'm a big person now, Papa, she said, puffing her chest proudly. You're teasing again. All right, he said with a chuckle, raising his hands in mock surrender. I'll tell it the way I do for the other children in town. Deal? Nia's eyes lit up as she nodded, settling closer to the fire. Deal. Father drew in a deep breath before releasing it slowly. He turned the book gently, fingers tracing the edges of the page before flipping it open. Across the spread of pages, a luminous city of glass and stone emerged, rising beneath a sky teeming with light. Very well, he said with a nod. The Age of Myr was a time of wonder, when the world was alive with light and possibility. Cities rose like jewels from the earth. Their towers of chrome and crystal shimmered under an eternal magical glow. There were great academies of learning, the Grove of Vasa, where ancient trees whispered secrets of the natural world, the crystal archives whose mirrored halls reflected endless knowledge, and the Celestial Forum, where the stars themselves seemed to tell their stories. Airships, graceful as swans, sailed through the skies on threads of magic, linking the great cities of Dyneta with invisible pathways of light. Prismir, Nia whispered, her eyes wide. That's right, Father said. Prismir, the lifeblood of the world. It threads through the land in flowing filaments, invisible to most, but felt by all. The Myr'ides, women born with the rare gift to shape its power, were its stewards. They were the keepers of balance, using their power to rule with benevolence. Under their guidance, all of Dyneta thrived. Are those the people that made the magic dust you used to write the glowing things in the air all the time? Nia asked curiously. Yes, Nia, Father responded, smiling. The Myr'ides used their connection with Prismir to shape it, crystallize it, and focus its power into a physical mineral. That mineral is called Priscillium. It powered all the great inventions back then. Machines, lights, even ways to heal the sick. Back then it was abundant, but now... He sighed. Now it's rare to find an intact crystal. Only dust. Oh, Nia replied, slumping. The dust is still useful, Father added while raising his index finger. We must use it to bring light back into this dark world, even if it's just a little. Nia's brow furrowed yet again as she thought this over. If they made magic that was so good, then why did everything turn out so badly for all of us? The smile slipped from Father's face, replaced by a distant, shadowed look. Because not everyone trusted the Myr'ides, he said quietly. Some thought they were hoarding power, keeping it for themselves. The Ryn Dynasties coveted the power of the Myr. The Myr'ides, knowing that the Rhine was ruled by a violent man, refused to share their Priscillium. So the Rhine instead built massive refineries to... Refineries? Nia interrupted. She had not heard this word before, and it felt strange on her tongue. Her father hesitated, searching for a simpler explanation. A refinery is like a forge, he said. His voice was heavy with thought. A big smithy, Nia, much larger than anything you've seen in town. The Rhine created them to draw Prismir from Dynera without concern or understanding. Nia tilted her head, trying to imagine it. Like they were mining it. Exactly, mining, yes. But they didn't stop there. They wanted to control it. They believed they could bend Prismir to their will, without needing the Myr'ides' guidance, building great machines of war with it. Nia gasped. Father's voice was heavy as he continued, but their ambition was too great. Dynera grew weak as the Prismir was drawn out of the world, and the balance began to unravel. And when it broke... He trailed off. The silence that followed was heavier than his words. Nia shivered, pulling the quilt tighter around her shoulders. Is that when the war started? She whispered. Father nodded solemnly. A war that lasted a long time. How long? 10 cycles. They called them years back then, before we could only measure the passing of time through the texture of the night. Her mouth fell open. 10? That's longer than I've been alive. By... She counted on her fingers. 4 cycles. Father's lips curved into a faint smile at her astonishment, but it faded as quickly as it came. It was a long war, Nia. In those 10 cycles, the Rhine unleashed monstrous machines. Titanic constructs that darkened the skies and shook the earth. The Myr'ides, desperate to protect the world, turned to darker and darker magic. They made incantations so powerful that they scarred the land as much as they healed it. Nia's eyes widened further as he went on. Cities crumbled, forests burned, the skies themselves cracked under the strain of it all. By the time the fighting stopped, Dynera was broken. Her lands were scarred and divided, her harmony gone. He shook his head. It's never been the same. Did you fight in the war, Papa? Goodness, no. I wasn't even born yet. When did it happen, Papa? About 20 generations ago. Whoa, she breathed, though the enormity of such a span of time was lost on her in the silence that followed. The calm stretched, broken only by the crackle of the fire and the soft creak of the floorboards as Mother stepped into the room. Her apron was dusted with flour, and the scent of warm bread clung to her clothes. She moved to Kai's cot, bending down to check on him. His tiny fists waved in the air as he let out a soft fuss, the beginnings of a cry. "Still awake, my little man," she murmured to him. Her voice was a soothing hum. She then glanced over to Father, and her brows lowered in admonishment. And what kind of scary story are you filling her head with now? Nia sat up straight, clutching the quilt to her chest. It's not scary, she said quickly, though her voice betrayed the slightest tremor. It's history, Mama. Mother sighed as she approached the hearth, settling into the empty chair beside Father. History or not, it sounds like the kind of thing that keeps little ones up when they should be sleeping. All the children like this story, Father said. Can't you tell it differently? She needs dreams of sunny fields and clear skies, Eric, not supernatural terror. She needs to know, Myr'ides, he said softly. Stories like this are all we have left to hold on to. The truth is fading. Too many have forgotten, and the witches are content to twist the past to suit their hold on the future. If we don't teach her, who will? Mother shook her head while brushing her fingers across Kai's cheek as he nuzzled against her. Eric, she's still so young. They both are. Is it really fair to burden them with so much so soon? Father's voice went low as he spoke softly. Truth isn't a burden. It's a shield. If she doesn't understand what's been lost, she'll never know what's worth protecting. Nia glanced between them, sensing another of their many arguments brewing. She twisted the edge of the quilt. I want to know, Mama. I asked Papa to tell me. Mother's expression softened as she turned her attention back to Nia. You're growing up too fast, little bird. But don't let him scare you, I'm not scared, Mama. It's exciting. All right, then. Mother then cast Father a sidelong look. That's my daughter, he said, giving her a wink. Kai's tiny cry drew Mother's attention back to him, and she repositioned him, cradling him in her arms. Come, little man, she whispered. One last feeding before bed. She rose, carrying Kai out of the room. Nia and her father both watched her leave, and when she was fully settled in the den, Nia's attention shifted back to Father. Where do the witches come into the story? Ah, Father looked up as he leaned back. The witches were once Myr'ides. They changed after the war, darkened, corrupted. They gathered at the peak of the highest mountain and cast the ninefold fracture. The most powerful witch, Kolsheda, shattered the world into 9 realms and bound the other witches to the evil magic that flows now in the place of Prismir. Nia pointed at the window. Is that why the light gave out? Here in the west, yes. Is there darkness everywhere over Dinetta, Papa? Her father's somber expression softened slightly. Oh no, honey. Each of the fractured realms have their own quirks. Some are shrouded in mist and rain, others scorched by unbearable heat or frozen solid, and a few... His eyes flicked briefly to the window. A few are darker than the rest. Her curiosity only deepened. Can we go visit them? I'm sorry, Nia. It's far too dangerous for children to travel between the witches' realms. There are monsters and dangerous people, traps, bad magic. Even the ground can't be trusted to hold you. Why? She pressed with a voice bright with the innocence of someone who didn't yet understand mortal danger. Well, Father said, pausing the way he always did when he was choosing his words carefully. The witches want everything exactly as they are, but we don't. We want a whole Dinetta. They will do anything to stop us, even if it means hurting a child. He added, You're safest here, where at least you can hide in the dark. Nia's eyes widened, but her curiosity didn't waver. How do you know all this? You've been to them, haven't you? Before Father could answer, the creak of the floorboards drew their attention again. Mother stepped into the room, carrying Kai in her arms. His soft breaths rose and fell in time with hers. One arm had been freed from his swaddle, and his little hand twitched as he slept. She crossed to the cot and gently lowered him into it. For a moment she studied him, brushing her hand across his downy hair before straightening. She turned toward Nia. Your father knows because he was a rune runner, Mother said. He crossed the realms to bring dust to those who needed it most, so we can better protect ourselves from the curse. Rune runner? Nia asked. Those sensitive enough to learn the ancient magic of the Myr, they used it to undo the worst of the witch's dark magic, to bring Danetta back together. Nia gasped softly, looking at her father with newfound awe. You did all that, Papa, really? Father sighed, leaning back in his chair, his eyes flickering to the fire. I did. Back before you and Kai were born, but those days are over now. It's too dangerous for me to take those kinds of risks. Why? Nia asked, frowning. You're not scared, are you? No, Nia. I gave it all up for you and your brother. My calling now is to protect you both, not go chasing through the witch's realms. Mother stepped closer, resting a hand on Father's shoulder. That's why he left it all to your Uncle Korik. Your father's always said your uncle was the better runner anyway. Father waved a hand dismissively, though a smile crept across his face. Korik's just reckless. That's why he's still at it. I've done my fair share. Nia's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Can I be a rune runner someday? Father paused, considering her question with a thoughtful tilt of his head. Sensitivity to Prismir runs in our family. Normally the power is only given to women, but both Korik and myself have it. I suspect you will too. Maybe even Kai. Mother shot Father a hurried look. Time to finish up. Kai just got put down and we ought not to wake him. Father exhaled softly, closing the book with gentle reverence. He ran his fingers over the worn leather cover as if memorizing its texture before setting it on the hearth beside him. Nia's mind was still spinning with questions she didn't yet know how to ask. But aren't you sad that you stopped? She asked. The world is still so dark, Papa. Even in darkness, there's always hope, he said warmly. The witches and their realms are a blight, but there's pockets of pureness out there waiting to be discovered. As long as there's those who believe in the light, especially little girls like you, Nia, Danetta's story isn't finished. It'll be whole again. Nia smiled, resting her head back on the pillow. Maybe one day someone will bring the light back, she murmured sleepily. It's only a matter of time before that person shows up. Father lifted himself from the chair. Or maybe that someone's already here. Now, don't stay up through the veil. Get some sleep so you have enough energy for the next churn. Okay, Nia gave in. She snuggled deeper under the quilt. Until the night lifts, Papa. Until the night lifts, Nia, Father said softly, leaning down to kiss her forehead. Nia's eyelids fluttered, and her hand curled around the edge of the quilt. She slowed her breath. As she shut her eyes, Father whispered, And when it does, my love, the light of the first dawn will be waiting to greet us. Kai let out a soft murmur from the crib. His tiny fists curled as if grasping at the air in his sleep. Father moved to the crib and adjusted Kai's swaddle. And you, little one, no crying tonight, You'll keep your sister awake. Father pinched a few grains of dust between his fingers. He traced a protective rune in the air. The lines shimmered as they formed, glowing softly in his wake, bathing the bedroom in a gentle golden warmth. The light bloomed once before fading into the stillness, leaving a lingering sense of safety in its place. Nia settled calmly against her pillow. Father was at the edge of the door when Nia's sleepy voice called after him one final time. Papa? He paused, his hand resting on the door frame. Yes, love? Do you really think Danetta can be whole again? I do, Nia, he said after a beat. But the people who will lead the way, they'll be the ones who remember the stories, the ones who carry the feeling of what whole means in their hearts. Then, with a soft creak, he slipped through the door, the soft sound blending with the crackle of the dying fire. Nia drifted off, and her dreams through the veil were filled with glowing cities and the bustle of busy streets, of happy people under a bright blue daylight sky, of celebrations and music, of airships sparkling against endless skies, of flowing rivers of magic, and the world made whole and bright. All the while, in the crib beside her, Kai slept soundly. His tiny chest rose and fell in soft rhythm, a gentle promise of the hope yet to come.